can improve and make it better, and appreciate the efforts we have put in. And just remember that it's all about the kids. We all say that, and we all know it just doesn't seem to work that way. And we ask you to keep each child safe, let each staff member become re-energized and ready to come back in the fall, and that you give all of us wisdom to do what's best for our students. We just ask you to bless each student and each staff member, and we give your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mrs. Freitas. Item 117, minutes of previous meeting.
Mr. President,
Mr. Cunningham.
I make a motion to approve the minutes, including the executive session certifications as presented.
Motion by Mr. Cunningham. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Crouch. Any comments or discussion regarding previous minutes? Okay, not hearing any. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 118, personnel. Mr. McKenzie.
Yes, and this is going to be a long one, and it's just that time of year, so bear with me. But we have the following personnel items for your consideration this evening. We'll start off with 3 retirements. Keith Fields, School Technology Coordinator, effective at the end of the school year, 29 years with Mississinewa Community Schools, and this is his 40th year in education. So we appreciate Rob Rodman's service to us and very loyal service. All of these 3 people have been very loyal and dedicated to Mississinewa Community Schools, and so we will miss them and appreciate their service. We also have a couple of resignations and some new hires. Hope Coons has resigned as a social studies teacher and head volleyball coach at the high school, effective at the end of the school year. My understanding is her husband's gotten a job out of state, so that their family will be moving. Serena Lashbrook has resigned as the head cross-country coach at the middle school, effective May 9th. Matt Elliott has resigned as a part-time custodian at the high school, effective May 7th. Sydney Hunt to be hired as a math teacher at the high school, effective for the 2018-19 school year. Amy Ott to be hired as a part-time school nurse at 3 days a week, effective for the 2018-19 school year. Ryan Arms to be hired as a business teacher at R.J. Baskett Middle School, effective for the 2018-19 school year. We are also recommending the following teachers and paraprofessionals for this summer school Indian Academy. Teachers for the iRead and Indian Summer Academy 2018 include the following: Emily Bainter, Shannon McPherson, Nicole Skeens, Janelle May, Jennifer Moore, Shelby Head, Tracy Walton, Ashley Parks, Cheryl Brannock, Dottie Atkins, Thomas Cheney, Alicia Scott, Shelley Neal, and Julia Poe. Paraprofessionals for iRead and Summer Academy include the following: Michelle Stanley, Lisa Brown, Ruth Sharon, Cassie Ray. I'll have some more names to bring you. That could be at the high school level and middle school level, particularly. So we would recommend the board approve these personnel items as presented this evening.
Thank you, Mr. McKenzie. What's the board's pleasure?
Mr. President,
Mr. Smith.
move to approve the personnel items as recommended.
A motion by Mr. Smith. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Freitas. Any comments or discussion regarding personnel?
I just had a question. Is that Mrs. Ott replacing somebody, or is that an added position?
I don't know if you'll remember this, but when I interviewed for the superintendency, I indicated that one of my goals was to have a nurse at every building. So next year, we will have a nurse at every building. This year, we still had a nurse secretary at one of our buildings, and that person will be relocated. And we have Deb Cunningham is a 2-day-a-week nurse, and so with Amy being 3 days, that'll give us a full week of service. at one of our buildings, and that'll give us coverage at all 4 buildings. Yeah.
Any other comments?
Marty wanted me to tell you that it'll also help with telehealth.
Good, yes.
I knew there was a reason
That
he's
will
here
be
tonight.
expanding to other buildings? Will that expand to other buildings? you think?
Yes, the intention is.
In fact, we're in the process of doing the room at the high school right now, and we are buying the equipment for the middle school, and then hopefully in January of 2019, we'll expand to Westview.
Okay, anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Smith and a second by Mrs. Freitas. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 119, conference request, Mr. McKenzie.
Yes, Mr. President, we have the following conference request for your consideration this evening. Danielle Richards to attend the mandatory Project Lead the Way flight and space training from July 30th to August 1st at the University of Nevada at a total cost of $1,497.92 to be paid for from the Project Lead the Way Fund. Also, Danielle Richards will be attending the mandatory Project Lead the Way Medical Detectives Training June 18th through the 22nd at Purdue University at a total cost of $3,240.75 to be paid for from the Project Lead the Way Fund. Susan Lopsiger to attend the mandatory Project Lead the Way Principles of Biomedical Science Training from July 9th through the 20th at IUPUI in Indianapolis at a total cost of $3,500 to be paid for from Project Lead the Way funds. Phil Meek to attend the mandatory Project Lead the Way App Creator and Computer Science Training from June 18th through the 29th at Florida Gulf Coast University at a total cost of $5,458 to be paid for from the Project Lead the Way Fund. Steve Fritchman to attend the mandatory Project Lead the Way Green Architecture Training from July 23rd through the 25th at Rochester Institute of Technology in New York at a total cost of $1,494 to be paid for from the Project Lead the Way Fund. Jessica Fromhold Smith to attend the mandatory Project Lead the Way Gateway Automation and Robotics Training from June 11th through the 15th at the University of Illinois at a total cost of $2,834.62 to be paid for from the Project Lead the Way Fund. Also, Jessica will attend the mandatory Project Lead the Way Green Architecture Training on June the 3rd through the 4th at the University of Texas at a total cost of $2,087.64 to be paid for from the Project Lead the Way Fund. Cindy Walker to attend World Drumming Level 2 at Slippery Rock University in Pennsylvania. I thought Slippery Rock would be in West Texas or New Mexico, but here it is in Pennsylvania. On June 18th through the 22nd at a total cost of $1,563.32 to be paid for from the RJ Basket travel account. And we would recommend approval of these conference requests as presented this evening.
Thank you, Mr. McKenzie. What's the board's pleasure?
Mr. President,
Ms. Miller,
I'll make a motion that we approve the professional development as presented.
have a motion by Mrs. Miller. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Crouch. Any comments or discussion regarding the conference request? All right, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Line item 120, facilities report. Mr. McKenzie.
We included in the board's packet the summer maintenance project plan for 2018. And if you were expecting a lot of those confirmed numbers to be there, you're disappointed. That we are still working on that and engaged with that. And I imagine a lot of them will come through, clear up through the end of June. But we will entertain any questions or comments that the board has. I will refer you to, on the high school, the resurfacing of the north parking lot. Actually, originally, that was, we had put aside $250,000 for that project. And then it came in at about $89,000 as an estimate, and then we got multiple estimates, and you can see it's $64,360 is what that's going to cost. So that's good news, but there are some places where the prices are going to be more than what we had anticipated. The alternative ed upgrades for the high school are going to cost more than $50,000. But we'll just move some of that savings up there from the parking lot to the alternative school area. I'm guessing that the alternative ed upgrades are going to be in the neighborhood of $75,000 to $80,000. There's some complicated doors we have to put in that require a lot of wiring and sophisticated equipment for security reasons, and so that's going to be $15,000 to $20,000 just for the doors that we're adding in the hallways to separate that section of the building from the rest of the building.
Okay, any questions?
Have you got cameras planned for this building?
For the high school?
No, this building. This building.
Yeah, it's in the,
Yes, yeah.
Okay, I
It's on
can't,
the
I
list.
can't bring this up, but
It's on the list.
are they gonna, is that doorway on the north side, is that gonna be a closed door where you have to gain access, or is that
No.
what you, no?
No.
I just wonder, I mean, it's, if you're concerned about, security, it's just an open, I know we have people come from the outside, but is that the reason why, or is that a?
I'm more secure, or more concerned with the vandalism and breaking in after hours
Okay.
and stealing or destroying equipment. Not that I don't care about Leslie and
Well,
Jill's
I just-
safety.
I didn't know where the irate parents came to, so I.
But we don't,
Leslie can take it.
Pam's the first line of defense. If you hear them scream, get out of the building.
but there aren't any students in this
Close the
building.
doors.
Point to Ted. Right next door.
I'm sorry I asked, man.
That'll be a savings too. All joking aside, we had set aside $26,000 for that, and we're going to use the middle school's old
okay.
equipment. And so I think the estimate was around $12,000 for that. So,
Anybody else have any comments?
frankly, we don't want to assign a secretary that responsibility to monitor that door all day.
Okay.
I know nobody wants to give up their secretary's time to do that.
All righty.
Any other questions on the high school, or
Anybody?
any other questions on that? How about I think the next one I have is RJ Basket. Any questions about RJ Basket? That price for the camera system at the middle school is probably underestimated. We based that estimate on the high school's cost, and the high school's on one level, and the middle school's on 3 levels, and you got whatever cost or savings we incur in the maintenance plan, but we're asking for a second estimate that leaves out the annex for this school year.
Have we looked at any of the things that Shelbyville has done? They're supposed to be the safest school in the United States. Has anybody followed that on the news or?
Yeah. Do you have any idea what they spent?
$400,000. But there were some things, like they had a line in every room, and that may not even impact us, but someone had gone to every window and drawn a line in the room where there was the least amount of
Visibility.
right, and if there was a problem, then they all got behind that line, so there would not be any, and that didn't cost much of anything.
No, but and now the principals can speak to this probably better than I can. They know what their code red plans are, but my understanding when I was principal.
Special session that was held, and all the bills that were presented and brought forward were passed, and they've been assigned a public law number. I'm only going to focus on two that affect schools, but I'll let you know by the way, this in your board packet that Pam was nice enough to post in there. House Bill 1230, House Bill 1242, House Bill 1315, 1316, and 1457. Those were all the bills that were passed and signed to public law. I'm going to focus on two because those affect us as elected bodies and for the school corporations. First is 1230, and that's the school safety bill. It's about 17 pages long. But it establishes, has the DOE to establish a school safety specialist advisory board. There'll be grants for school safety. It has to prepare and report to the legislature each year. It adds bullying to include cyberbullying. Now they already had a limited cyberbullying. Now it adds the use of cell devices. It requires local school corporations to have the link that's from the DOE that advertises the state reporting process for bullying, so that our website will have to have a link that they can click to and then go report a situation of cyberbullying. It also adds human trafficking now and requires school corporations to have at least 1 hour every 2 years of professional development and education on human trafficking. Under Section 9, that's where it adds the prohibits bullying, but adds the cell phone. It also adds an opportunity for local school corporations to look at a tax levy as related to school safety. So just like you'd look at for building or construction or anything like that, school corporation. So Terry, it kind of goes to if our school feels like it, and we as a board feel like it, and the community supports it, we can go after a levy for to spend funding on school safety. There's currently a $35 million that's in the grant process, and Tab's already told me we're in the process of applying for that. It sets the maximum per school corporation at $500,000, and then some interesting things at Section 14. It adds a door barricade. You remember when we talked about school safety and a lot of one of the recent school shootings, they pulled the fire alarm, and then that gave them an opportunity to be able to target individuals. Now with it allows a 3-minute delay and barricading a particular door to make sure that or doors so you can make sure that is actually a valid fire alarm. So you can actually hold students for 3 minutes and then make a decision, and that can be expanded based upon if it's the determination there's an active shooter. It'll also have on-site school audits for school safety, so they will audit school systems and particular schools, and this will be one of the responsibilities of that committee. I think that's about it on any questions for public input. I just think that's atrocious. So, but 1315, they come up with stressed political subdivision language, and that so the definition for that can change or alter. So if you are determined to be a distressed school corporation, have the ability to take it over. The state has the ability to take it over. Two school corporations that that this one fixated on was Gary School District was number one. The school board, the elected school board, only has the capacity to meet every 3 months. They can't meet any more than that every 3 months that's available. And basically an emergency manager takes over that entire school corporation, and their word is law. They're creating a whole separate board that then makes decisions about that corporation. So it takes the hands out of the elected school board's power. it creates a board, and the other thing that bothers me about that is it puts other elected officials. So the mayor of Gary is placed on there above any of the elected school board members to have a say-so in what happens with this process. Section 7 is pretty similar, that exists for Muncie schools. Each one of these sections are crafted specifically for the corporation. Muncie School Corporation, they can only meet once every 6 months. So once every 6 months they can meet. Both of these boards have been stripped also from any compensation or decision-making power, so I don't know what you would meet about. And then also with Muncie Schools, the same kind of manager setup, a separate advisory board. So heaven forbid you become a distressed school corporation or political subdivision with the Indiana legislature right now. So if you can't
Chris,
tell, I'm not real
so
happy.
they did not dismiss the boards in
No.
Gary?
I don't think they have the, well, they could have legislation-wise, but they did not dismiss the school boards. The school boards are elected positions, and I think they were afraid of going into that, but it's just as easy to scratch out Muncie School Corporation and put Marion School Corporation in there, or whatever, and adopt each one of these.
Well, and dictate that you're only gonna meet pretty minimal.
Right.
That way, that's the way they
Right.
control it.
Yeah, and,
Okay.
so it's taken the hands out of elected school boards, so. Any questions that anyone would have on 13, 15? Like I said, that probably is the largest bill. Well, no, it's not the largest bill of the ones. There's taxes and state and local administration. But those ones are the education. The one on 13, 15 is the largest because it's school takeover, so.
Isn't it there, when they become the term stress school, once they get solvent again, that, there's not gonna be a permanent thing, right? Isn't that not?
Doesn't say that in
I
the legislation.
thought it did.
Maybe it does. I didn't see that in the section there where they could, and I guess the other thing is that board and that group makes the determination whether they're solvent again or not. You know, it just smacks of removing any kind of local control they could have. Now, maybe they would say, hey, you had your chance as a local corporation, but the state is coming in with money to shore up those particular areas to make it solvent, but that doesn't look like to me, Spike, that they offer, that I could find in there, and, you know, but, I mean, if it's in there, you know, the longer I read it, the madder I got, so that's, maybe I just quit reading, so, I don't know, that's,
Mr. President, if I could address that.
Sure, go ahead, Mr.
Or that
Mr. Harger.
new statute. The General Assembly has exercised its ultimate authority by removing and gutting local input. Make no mistake about it. That's exactly what they've done. And if you're familiar at all with what happened with the Muncie school system, you understand why they did it. They spent a $10 million construction bond on, and $9 million of it went to operating costs, and $1 million went to construction. So, if I'm not mistaken, there was a $12 million loan to the Muncie schools as part of that bill to cover their building costs. So, the heavy hand of the government did in fact come in, and it's my understanding that the overall intent and the way the law is written is that they're going to give the authority back to the school districts when they feel that they're ready to have it back.
That's what I thought of that.
That's how bad they felt the situation was.
When the
They
state
have to-
determines or when Ball State determines?
That's a good question. Probably both. They're certainly not gonna do it, to the extent that Ball State doesn't have the exclusive authority itself. The state committee certainly won't do it without their input. So now you have Muncie in a more complicated situation than Gary is, because you have a university involved. So now you've got local government, state government in the form of the General Assembly and DOE, and and then also state government in the form of Ball State. So that's going to be complicated, to say the least. But they have exercised that power, and they're going to have to answer to it at some point. It is a political move that they were entitled to do, but in examining the 3- and 6-month meeting requirements, the intent is very clear, that they do not trust the local officials at this moment. And when they feel like they have that trust back, the way that my understanding of the statute is, then they will turn it over. But both schools made the same mistakes. The finances were way out of whack, and their education, their test scores were dropping. And you might be able to get away with doing one or the other, but not both. And under those circumstances, that's when the General Assembly came in and said, we're going to get involved. Is it a warning to other school systems? You bet. They don't want to have to do this again, but if you think they won't, you're kidding yourself. They'll do it in a heartbeat, because they just turned Muncie over to a university. So it is a very heavy hand, and it was very intentional. So they're going to have to be careful with that. What it looked like in the future, we don't know. But you could tell by the way the law came out how two school systems, and let's hope that other school systems don't have to pay for their sins too harshly.
Thank you, Mr. Harker. Anybody else having comments or anything else, Mr. Cunningham?
No, that's all I have. Thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate
Most
the
welcome.
update. All right, we'll move on. Item 122, grants, donations,
The following donations and one sponsor for the board's consideration this evening. Most of these donations are going to the Unified Champions track meet for the county that was held at our high school track on May 10th. I don't know if any of you got to visit that. Special students experiencing that event and feeling very special on that day was heartwarming. I appreciate, and we appreciate Lisa Graham, who is the co-op director for our county and is also our Mississinewa Director of Special Education, for her leadership and her work on this event. And as you can see, there was a lot of supporters, and I'll read them all for you. Alexandria Memorial Services, $25. Arms Hunt Funeral Home, $100. The Barr Brothers, $300. Branches Bakehouse, $50. Kathy Mortz, $25. Central Indiana Ethanol, $1,000. A contribution from a private foundation in the amount of $5,000. Converse Hardware and Supply, $25. Cubberleys, $100. Daniel and Vicki Carey, $50. Fairmount Family Dentistry, $100. Fairmount State Bank, $25. Gary's Barbershop in the name of Gary Felton, $25. Jim and Cheryl Richards, $100. Needham Story Funeral Home, $100. Norris Insurance, $50. Pearson Printing, $50. Peerless Machine and Tool Corporation, $200. Poet Boar Fining, $100. Point Services, $200. The Beta Zeta Chapter Sorority, $100. I don't know if I said that right, but Quaker Classics, $100. Roof Mortgage in the name of Clayton Wright, $250. Rilo Incorporated, $25. Sophie's Ice Cream, $50. Subway, $50. Tree of Life Bookstores, $250. Via Credit Union, $100. An anonymous donation from the trap team, the Mississinewa trap team, $40. And our corporate sponsor for this evening is Mike Anderson Chevrolet in the amount of $500. So you can see by the donations to Unified Champions track meet that it came from all over the county. And so it was a special event, and we would recommend approval of these items as presented this evening.
Thank you, Mr. McKenzie. What's the board's pleasure?
Mr. President.
Mr. Smith?
I'll move to approve the donations and sponsorships as presented.
Motion by Mr. Smith, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Freitas. Any comments or discussion regarding the grants, donations, and sponsors? Not hearing any, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 123, claims against the corporation. Ms. Townsend.
I'm asking the board tonight to approve claims totaling $999,444.42, please.
Thank
Mr.
you,
President,
ma'am. Mr. Cunningham.
I make a motion to approve the claims as presented.
Motion by Mr. Cunningham, do we have a second? Second by Mr. Gaskin. Any comments or discussion regarding claims? All right, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 124, correspondence and other business. Mr. McKenzie.
Yes, just a reminder, there's an executive session immediately following this meeting. There will be a webinar at the central office provided by the Indiana School Board Association entitled Introduction to Budgeting. And June 1st at 7 o'clock is the baccalaureate at Westview Wesleyan Church. And then Sunday, June 3rd at 2 p.m. is the commencement in our high school gym. And we would ask the board to convene at the southeast locker room where we normally meet by 1:45 that afternoon. So I don't have anything else. Townsend or Mrs. Winter?
Yes, we received a couple notifications during our executive session that Mrs. Hunt that we hired had car trouble. She's looking forward to meeting each one of you, and she's excited to be a Mississinewa Indian. And the trap shooting team is inviting the board and all the administrators to an activity on May the 29th at 7 o'clock at Deer Creek Conservation Club. I think they want to challenge us to a match. I'm serious. So,
Target shooting.
we're gonna hold a practice this Sunday at 6 o'clock, and at least like to see at least half of you there. I also wanna apologize to Mr. McKenzie and the board that we did not have our recommendations for the middle school and the high school. We're still working through our little angels credit recovery. May take us till the end of school to get that finalized, but I know Mr. McKenzie takes a lot of pride having that done by.
Oh, that's all right. They're still recruiting students and getting that possible.
We're recruiting them to pass.
Yeah, exactly. Anybody else over there?
I just wanted to remind Mr. McKenzie of an athletic event.
Yeah, Marty just whispered in my ear.
Okay, okay.
It's his sport.
I
his
know.
thing, one of them anyway. Yes, we had a historical event occur recently, last week on Thursday. Our girls tennis varsity team won the sectional for the very first time in school history. So we're very proud of the girls and our tennis team, and wish them the best of luck tomorrow, I believe.
Yes.
The regional, and it's at Marion High School at 5:30. We play Delta, so best of luck to our girls tennis team. So I think that's all we have, unless Marty whispers. The superintendent whisperer.
Well, last meeting, we was concerned about the paving, but it looks like it's all done and for everybody, correct? And J Street, that's a nice deal, so you mentioned that I had connections, so I want you to know that I worked everything I possibly, had nothing to do with it whatsoever.
Yeah.
I was getting ready to pat you on the back.
It just turned out that way.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything to bring up?
I just want to mention that I was at the trap team shoot on Saturday, and Mr. Rush was there, and anyway, it was interesting and nice. I mean, it was kind of cool to see, so if you want me on your team, I would advise against it. I can't even hit anything with it being still.
Do you need earplugs?
Yeah, it's not a bad idea, but anyway, it is interesting to watch. And
We want Mr. Gosser on our team. I know he's a hunter. I don't know if they're, Jamie, what are you putting your finger on?
No.
No.
A reckless four-wheel drive person wanted that.
Never run over anybody.
We want Jamie on
Yeah,
our
it depends
side.
what you're hunting.
Anything else from any of the administrators? Anything from the board?
I don't believe so. We'll move on. Item 125, motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Mrs. Miller and a second by Mr. Gaskin. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.